The joys of technology.
Got it.
Right?
So who's all teaching? Lindsay's
I'm
not.
teaching tonight and tomorrow.
Oh, you're doing it both in one. That's good. Just get it out of the way.
I'm hoping that it gets like to 4 hours in and I don't have to find another place to teach.
Yeah, no kidding. That'll be good.
Yeah, I also discovered that my places didn't have projectors or anything, so like no PowerPoints or anything fun. I'm like, okay, I'll just talk with my hands
Yeah.
and hope people understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. I wasn't going to do a PowerPoint either because I knew that the library was going to have problems with the internet and projectors. But then at the same time, my husband and everyone that I did like my pilot study to, they're like, you should do a presentation. It will make it more interesting. And I was like, okay. We'll see what I'll just take my big desktop in. But Gretchen, are you teaching this week?
I'm not teaching this week.
Okay. That'll be good. Alrighty. So week 7, we read chapter 3, Principles of Program Evaluation.
Sorry, little guy
Sunday,
found me.
That's right.
You guys didn't need to stay out of the office, please. Dang it. I thought I was well hidden. I wasn't. Yeah, so chapter 3 reading, looking at my notes. It seems like it was such a long time ago. I'm having a hard time like remembering.
I know.
So much has happened since week 7. This is when we did the evaluations. Okay. I actually found the examples on like the evaluations really helpful making my own because I've never made an evaluation before, right? And I've never really given much thought to why I would need one. I'm probably going to already feel pretty judged, and the evaluation wasn't really something I wanted to have people fill out. But after reading like the importance of it, because it's supposed to help you improve, I was like, fine, I'll get on board with it. And so I made mine really simple, like just 3 different sections and numbers, and then good, better, best, and comments. I didn't get too technical with it, basically because I think at the end of the workshop, I think people are just going to want to like go home and kind of digest. So just make it as fast as possible.
That's really good.
Yeah, no, mine's the same thing because I saw like a lot of the stuff from chapter 3 really helped out. Like question-wise, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good question I can add in. But yeah, I need like for me I had to like make it shorter because I want to ask like for everything almost. It's like, well, how did this model help you or did it not? It's just I need to cut it down. So yeah, it helped me. This whole section helped me a lot.
I like how it like focused on like what's your overall vision and stuff, and kind of like how it's like, well, everything you're asking like leads up to what your overall vision is. I don't know. I think just going through and like writing my own and stuff, it's like, what's the main point that I want to get across? And then kind of breaking it up that way. Because, I mean, if they don't understand everything, I don't expect them to. It's going to be a lot of information when you're hitting them with, 2 hours of information or something like that. So I don't expect them to get everything that I say or that I go over, but I want them to have the overall point, and how to make sure that everything I'm saying relates back to that point.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that they just learn something, and maybe this evaluation will tell me that they learn something of value, especially when all this work and stress is going into it. I want people to learn something. Let's see.
I totally agree.
Sorry, repeat that.
I said I totally agree.
Oh, okay.
Just I want them to learn something too, and I'm nervous that they're not going to. I'm really nervous that no one's going to show up. That's my biggest like concern.
Yeah, I'm doing this. I'm doing mine at two public therapy offices, and I'm like, if no one shows up, that's gonna be really embarrassing. I really want people to show up, and right now the buzz is good on like the internet, but my other fear is that tons of people are gonna show up, and I'm gonna be like, I don't have the resources for all these people. So I think I just have general anxiety about the whole thing.
Yeah. I guess my biggest fear is if only like one person shows up, because then I'm like, do I still teach just one person? And like that's just kind of a lot of like because a lot of mine is discussion, and so it's kind of hard to have a good discussion when it's just one person. But
I think you'll do good, Madison, because I know someone that did it in the same area, Moses Lake area, and they had a lot of good turnout
good.
when they did theirs. So I think you'll be okay.
Hopefully. No, it'll be good.
Are you doing yours at your church building?
I'm doing the first one at the church building because I live on one side of town, and then so I have one on this side of town, and then I'm doing one on the library, which is on the other side of the town. There's something I was going to mention in this section, but I need to find it.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, because I was able to take a bunch of notes, but that's pretty much what I got out of the week 7 reading, was just really in helping write the evaluations and then the summaries and everything. That really, a lot of their examples and stuff really helped me out. But that was pretty much what I got for that week.
Yeah.
So week 8 was pretty much code of ethics.
Which, in theory, I'm like, ethics, to me, it's pretty, I don't have a problem seeing the ethics in theory, like in reading case studies, but like, it has me thinking in real life, what would I actually do?
Yeah.
A little scary.
I was thinking about, did you guys think about your workshops and like what possible things could come up in your workshop?
Yeah.
I did that too, and I was like, shoot, what would I say in that situation?
I'm practicing that must be hard. Or something. I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
That's true, because I always wonder, like, with ethics, I like how it talks about, or some things could kind of mesh, like, especially with culture, too. Because, like, oh, man, like, what if, because it just reminded me of this, like, even I guess, church kind of sometimes struggles with this, because, like, there was this one time where they're talking to this Polynesian stake, and they're trying to tell about, how they shouldn't have any like abuse towards kids, because they're more, I guess, of a, not like we see as abusive, but they they don't as much. They kind of hit the kids around a little bit, and so the interpreter, whoever, I'm not sure if it was Samoa or Tongan or something. So he said, this is what the general authority said. He's like, but it's okay to hit them a little bit. And so I think it's like, especially with ethics, it's hard when you're like, okay, I guess you try to teach like the parents, like, hey, like if you're doing a parenting class, like this is not a good idea, and then if it keeps on going, like, especially here in America, because there's some things for us like other cultures do. Like even on my mission, like in Nepal, like a lot of my Nepalese investigators, that's like their norm. Like everyone beats each other up. Like even kids beat the parents up. So it's just kind of like, it's just more shocking. So this was really interesting to, like, I guess, read about, because it's that big culture thing too, and that like respect of culture, but also like, hey, like it's not really healthy for your family. It's not helpful, and also it's against the law in some cases. And so yeah, so this just made me think more overall about this ethics and stuff.
Yeah, and I put going along with it, I put that it's important to understand like the ethics of like your audience, because like you said, like with culture, but then family backgrounds, because it says where is it, something that it's like where is it, how it's just like an inbred belief, like you experience it for so long that it just becomes part of who you are, like your moral standards and stuff. And so I think that's important too, to understand where your audience is coming from.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I just found what I think you were talking about. Ethics is a habitable way of thinking, becoming part of our moral character.
Yeah.
That's in the summary. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, reading the case studies and everything, I mean, to me, I saw obvious red flags, and then I saw obvious, like, cultural differences and how, when things were different. But like I said, and I've never experienced that in, like, real world situations, so I'm hoping I will never have to, right? But when I do, I can kind of distinguish what my role in place is versus where it's not.
Mm-hmm. Like part of the ethics, one of the ethics codes says that you'll take like your personal belief out of your professional, and I think that goes into huge with culture, because some cultures believe things that it's not bad. Like some people, a lot of cultures like will co-sleep or will hold their baby all the time or whatever it may be, and it's not a bad thing. Like to them it's not bad, and it's just different from what we think, and so it's important to
yeah, like, well, even in the case study, where boys didn't want him playing with girl toys and everything, it wouldn't be my place as the American to be like, well, you're wrong, and boys and girls need to play equally in everything that they do. And like, to me, I thought that was obvious of like, yeah, that's where you'd keep your trap shut, and you just be like, okay, well, since that's your culture, let's try and find a better way to maybe teach the mother to redirect the child rather than the teacher, and so that's what I kind of put on there, was just my job is to teach kind of what their goals for their family would be, rather than the goals I think they should have.
Yeah, and I think understanding that culture helps with that too. I went and did some research on the Somali culture just because I was curious. I love cultures, and so I went and did that, and like that's just part of their beliefs, and you just have to respect that, and like, okay, well, it's not hurting the child developmentally if he plays in the kitchen, and it's not hurting him if he's not. So you kind of have to. Anything else?
Living in such a huge city, being in San Antonio, I see so much different culture that it's almost shocking, because of the fact that I grew up in Moses Lake area. I grew up in a small town outside of Moses Lake, and so it's definitely been a huge change for me personally, but I've also had to notice how much I personally have to adapt to things, and I have to keep reminding myself, like, it's not the same for everyone. Like, we all have different cultures, we all come from different backgrounds, and that's something that even in this field we have to remind ourselves of frequently, because we don't always know everything. And like with that second case study, I was like, well, obviously there's going to have to be some intervention because of the fact that there are signs and you can see it. And that's where I think that it gets more tricky with us, is because of the fact that you have to have enough information to be able to report it, and you have to have the suspicion to report it, and even reporting it is a long process. And so if you don't have the right information, sometimes it can get a little tricky. But with that, code of ethics and stuff, there's a different class I remember taking that went a little bit more in depth into it. And so when I went through it this time, I just kind of breezed over it, because I still remember a lot from that other class that I took on it. And when taking that class, I did a lot more case studies, but I also realized how much we don't necessarily see things that would affect us within the code of ethics every day, but it's something that we just need to be aware of, because you never know what's going on, and there's a lot of things that will just kind of pass you by, especially like at the grocery store or something. You wouldn't think of it, but But there are, there's a lot of cases out there too that aren't being caught or aren't being reported because people don't think of reporting it when you see it in the grocery store or something like that.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard too because you don't know the situation in the grocery store. You don't know if like that child has been awful all day and the parent just, was at their wits' end, or if that's just a normal typical day or whatever. So that's hard. You reminded me, I watched a webinar this week for my internship, and we talked about the ethics in the cultures and how in the United States, like the non-white population is growing so much more quickly than the white population. So, in just a matter of years, we're going to have so much diversity in the United States, more than we already do. And so it's so important that we understand and do that. And they told a story of this lady. She just barely got into the field. She was a caseworker, I think, and she went to see this family. They're from Vietnam, and they lived in a garage. And the first thing this lady said is, "We need to get you a better place to live. This is just awful." And the family was so humiliated, and they ended up dropping services and moving because that was just humiliating to them. But for them, they've lived in refugee camps for like 10 years and just in a tent in Vietnam. And so that was like the best house that they've ever lived in. And so it's, we have our opinions, like the American opinion of, you need to have a house or you need to have a better apartment. You can't live in a garage. But to them, like that was okay. Like they were totally happy with that. And I know I've caught myself, like, you see sometimes like huge families that live in these tiny trailers, but they come from, Mexico or different places. And you're like, man, I wish I could help them find a better place to live so they could all fit and they're not so scrunched, but they're probably happy as can be. That could be like their dream home So I thought that was interesting that you have to take it professional.
It's kind of interesting
Yeah, I
what you
found it.
said.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Nope,
Yeah,
go for it.
Okay. I actually say like it reminds me kind of, I guess, kind of on a gospel thing, or what you said reminds me because it's almost like it doesn't matter like what our state or environments like around us, like we're happy because of like because of I guess who we are, like we decide that, it doesn't matter what happens around us. And so my grandma, she just gave this talk because she's a big pioneer history buff. And so she was talking about how, like, the Saints, when they went to Utah, went to this very deserty, desolate place, and some of them cried because they thought they'd go to, this more paradise, like more place, it's a lot more, I guess, livable. And she said, like, because they came to go find Zion, but she said they didn't see that Zion was already in their hearts, like they were bringing Zion, that's who they were. And so I think that's true, like a lot of people, and I think the same, like what you said, like for Americans, like our standard of living is completely different than other people's. So we're like, and I mean, maybe that's why a lot of jobs, or maybe that's why we outsource too, because we don't, I guess we're kind of a little bit entitled. It's good and bad, like not settling, but sort of, even for like jobs, like, we see some job, like, oh man, I'll never do that. But like some people from other families, like immigrants, would do the job because it's better than, what they had before. And so, like we said, like how, we see things, we want to fix it, but like they may be just completely happy, And it kind of goes to show that you don't really, I guess, need stuff to be happy. So yeah.
You probably saw that a lot in Nepal too.
Yeah, well, I was in Nepal. I taught a lot of Nepalese people though.
Okay.
So yeah, that's about America. I guess it's a very diverse. Yeah, I served my mission in Virginia and North Carolina, and I only I think I only taught like 3 Americans really
Cool.
when I was there. But yeah.
That's really cool.
I think that goes along with what we're saying. I'm looking at my notes here, and one of the summary bullet points was, ethics provides support for being moral, family life educators through the conciseness of professional thinking. And I think that's one of the things that we kind of have to shift in our minds, our opinions versus your professional thinking. I'm no longer going to be Kelly, soccer mom. I need to keep my opinions to myself and focus more on needs and facts rather than what I think should happen or what I think needs to be done just for my standard rather than helping people help themselves. Does that make sense?
Yes. I totally agree.
but that's all I have for the week 8 reading because of all the ethics. I liked the 3 virtues of the ethics: caring, prudence, and then hope and optimism.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
But those were the things that stuck out.
Anyone else on ethics?
Nope, just love it.
So week 9, we read those 2 articles about the difference, how to tell, like kind of seems like there's a blurry boundary line between a lot of the professions in the family field. And so they're just kind of trying to define that so we know how to teach in our own jurisdiction and we don't overstep our boundaries.
Yeah, I really liked, I think that's the first article. It's the one where they had the different levels, like level 1 up to like levels of 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I liked it because I was looking at my lesson plans and making sure like what level I was appropriate. Well, I wasn't going like too deep into the other one that, I don't have like the licensing or like the experience to do. And so I really like just kind of reviewing that and to see like I guess where my lesson plan, especially for right now since we're doing the family life education, where it fits in.
Yeah, I made some notes about that first article too, and it was, kind of just to help me distinguish between, the different practices or whatever. Education deals with cognitive knowledge, and therapy was personal and experimental issues. And then, in the second article, it kind of blurred some of those lines a little bit. I think in a good way, but when I was first starting out, I thought that was a good way for me to kind of distinguish the different professions and what they were kind of supposed to do. And then, of course, the levels, too. I really did like the levels and having things a little bit more concrete. And the second article was just kind of blew a lot of those levels.
Yeah, it was almost, they kind of attacked that first guy's thing, or whoever made the levels. I wonder, and I kind of felt bad because I was like, well, because it has been a big issue for family life education, like all the family, I guess, fields, is that everything's been blurred. So I guess I'm just proud for that person who did it, because at least, someone did. And so they should be complaining unless they have a better, I guess, model. But that's just me.
I kind of like the second article. I like how like the diagrams that they had, how they broke them up. Like I'm such a visual person, and so that really helped me to kind of grasp that information. And so it said like how family education, their focus is on building knowledge and skills within the family, and they focus on like the present and then the future. Whereas family therapy, they help repair those relationships and the functioning, and they focus on the past, present, and future. So they do all 3 of them, but they go more into the past, like childhood experiences and all that stuff, and try and repair that. And then the family case management, they just are mostly in the present, and they're focused on like the legal and policy system. So I thought that was really interesting. That really helped me see like that. It made the boundary lines a lot clearer to me, seeing those.
Yeah, I like them too, especially like I guess for family case management, it reminds me. I wonder from my way I read it seemed like it's just government involvement with all the legal stuff and like really resources. It was interesting. There was that one. It was like this one line that talked about they're focusing on fixing the situation more than the people. But like even though it's like completely different than the other 2, it's still like I guess critical. I like at the end where it says, hey, there's like use for every single part of this. And I like how that like the diagram, one of them that talks about who usually would come to certain things, like if it would be a court mandate one, or like if they just felt like they needed it or like want to know. And it's totally true. I like the little diagram, like, yep, that's usually how it goes, Especially I think that's why for us it's hard. I like that we're worried too that people will come. It's just because, it's just I guess it takes a great person to be like, hey, I need help with this, or like, hey, I want to learn this, and to go. And to like just act.
Yeah, I liked all the visuals too, and I think it just like with the reading, everything was just kind of like meshed up, and when I looked at the visuals and like went through them, it just kind of made everything clearer from what I was reading with that, especially with that second article. And I remember going over the first like the first model with the 5 levels earlier this semester in this class.
Mhm.
Like right at the beginning of the semester when we were doing all the reading about like what is family life education and stuff. And so what going through the first one I was kind of like, okay, I'm familiar with this. Like I remembered it from earlier in the semester, and then going into the second one and seeing more of just kind of the different blurry lines. Um, you know, there it's one of those things that it is hard to define, which these articles went over, and it's hard to sometimes know where your lines are at. And so I really like that we had to go through these, especially with, you know, starting the teaching and stuff too, because helps it helps you kind of see where you need to be, you know, kind of like what you were saying, you know, make sure you're not going too far, but also making sure you're covering enough information.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it helped me know what questions to ask. Like, I don't need to ask questions about like their childhood. You know, like that's a family therapist. I don't need those issues be brought up. You know, I don't want to handle that. And so I really like that so that I can be like, okay, I know not to set my boundaries by not asking questions that relate to this or whatever. So I really like that. That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that those boundaries were a little bit more clear, and I liked the 10 FLE content areas that they had in there, and that just kind of helped me categorize in my head things that can be taught, but I really don't need to go beyond those boundaries. That's not really what I'm qualified for.
Yeah. One thing I liked too was from that, I think it was the second article. It was, yes, it is. But it kind of reminds what we did earlier too, because it had like those, it kept on bringing up those questions, like why, what, when, who is it for, or how. And it kind of helped me remember, like, okay, this is what, like making sure everything I'm teaching is like addressing these questions, or like, I guess making sure I'm, focused, not just going off, going off doing something else in my lesson plans. So kind of, it was a nice reminder.
Are you guys going to, this is kind of off topic, but are you guys going to apply to get your family life education certificate after you graduate? Have you guys looked into that at all?
Thinking
I
about
haven't
it.
even gotten that far yet in my head.
I didn't even know about it until this semester, and I was looking into it, and as long like BYU has, it follows those 10 steps that we were talking about, or those areas, and so you just have to prove that you've taken those classes, and then you get your certificate. So you don't have to pay or take a test. But if you wait like 5 years or something like that, you have to take a test. And I was like, sweet, that'd be cool to be certified as a family education.
Wait, so we have to take certain classes, or wait, we just show the classes we take for our major, are you saying?
Yeah, so you just have, and BYU Idaho follows it. And so you just have to say, okay, for this area, this is the class I took, and they line them up and make sure that it's all good, and you get your.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool. Just
That'd be cool.
get on top of it to bachelor's.
I always wondered, like, if the stuff we taught, like, if our workshops were really successful, if we could actually, after we graduate, use the same workshop, and like, I guess now be like a really certified, go and do it.
Right.
Like,
I
if
think you could. Like you created it and you're making the portfolio for like professional jobs or portfolios, so I think you could without running into any problems. I mean, we have to cite everything, and it's supposed to be professional, so I think you could.
I just think the family life education is so cool. Like you really are helping like families to be more self-reliant. You're giving them the knowledge and the skills to better their relationships, to prevent. It's a preventative therapy, I guess, not therapy, but just like a system. And I think that's just so cool that we can do that, like that we're educators and have that.
I know, I think it's cool too because we get to share them what we have learned. Because I remember when I first went to this major, like I went to a class and like, you know, it's like, so I guess some of my old, like, I guess, like, kind of ideals or beliefs are, like, challenged, and I was like, I learned new things, I'm like, hey, this, you know, this is a better way kind of thing. And so I'm glad that, you know, in a way we get to, you know, share some of that, because a lot of people, I don't, you know, they don't know, and they don't know anything's wrong. When they go to, like, when they learn about these things, like, oh, like, this is really, will really help me out. And so I like what you said, I think you're right that it does, like, we do really can help people.
Yesterday, I was reading an article, and it was about the consumer mindset inside of marriages. Now people are very like cost and how much am I giving and how much am I receiving type thing, and how that's just like destroying marriages because they're just so into this consumer mindset. And I was like, that would be so interesting to teach like a newly engaged or youth that are getting ready to go into college or something, to teach a class that talks about like good skills, like how to have healthy marriages, how to have healthy relationships. And I don't know, I just get so excited now to teach a bunch of different classes. But
That's true, especially for like that topic too. Because I know, I think like back then a lot of people say, oh, like, you know, arranged marriages or even not, like, you know, they didn't marry for love and it was so sad. But I don't think they were. I think they're just content, you know. Like I didn't, they didn't take much for them to be happy. And so I like and that's such an interesting thing to say too about like how our culture's so different about that. But that would be cute and fun. You should totally do one of those workshops, like teach totally like young engaged people or newlyweds.
yeah, it's just that preventative stuff. Like, okay, this is, like this is what you can do to have a healthy marriage, and it prevents you from having to go to therapy later on. And it prevents you from so much heartache later on if you learn these skills now. So I think it's
I
really
think that's
cool.
a good idea because I think a lot, especially LDS people, get married so young that they have they see their parents or whatever as examples. This marriage, but they've been married 20 years or whatever it is, and I think marriage is a shock to a lot of young couples, and I think I've thought forever that people should take marriage counseling classes before they get married and engaged, just because you don't get that shock. So I think that would be a really great idea, and especially when people with such an instant gratification kind of world, and especially with consumerism and like buying things or thinking about yourself with those things, I think that's just becoming more and more of a shocking problem with young kids that are, I say kids, these young couples that get married without having a lot of real world experience yet.
Yeah, this new generation is so different from generations in the past, from their parents' generation, and so they need those skills. But
yeah, I think those kinds of classes would be a lot of fun to teach.
it'd be so fun to teach. I saw this one workshop. It was back in like Tennessee or something, but they take these couples on like retreats, like it's like newlywed married couples, and they go out into the mountains and they do all these cool like bonding experiences and like learning communication skills. And it's like that'd be so fun to do. You don't have to sit in a workshop to learn communication skills. Like you can do that through activities and through trust activities. And I think that'd be so fun. But
Oh, that'd be fun. No, I think your idea is great. You should really do it. It's just what you should do when you get your family life education. Go to the mountains and get these workshops.
I could live in the mountains. I love them.
Because like I think it's so helpful too. Because like I reminds you from one of the other classes for a lot of our teachers who are therapists. They say it's usually 7 years of problem before they come there. You know, it's like cancer. They said they come to us when it's stage 4 cancer, or like 7. They ask them when this problem started, and it's like 7 years ago. And it's just kind of crazy, like how they'll suffer through for all this long, and they could have solved it or like prevented that. And so I wish there's a way that we could get it, or I could get it that out. That family life education is not like a bad thing, or it's just worth your time to go.
Stigma to it, right?
Yeah, it does.
It seems to be kind of taboo to be like, we went to a marriage class, and it's really, I wish that there wasn't. I wish that there was more like acceptance of, well, we're human, and all of a sudden we have to live with this other human who is completely different, and we need to learn some skills in order not to kill each other. Like, I don't think there's any shame in that. I really wish people would be more open to the fact that learning how to like your spouse daily isn't a horrible thing.
Well, it's kind of like with your job. Like if you go into a career, like you go to school to learn how to do your job, to learn how to, to gain those skills, that knowledge, to be able to do that. And it's the same with, I think marriage is so important. It's like, you're anyways, so having it's just like going to school. You're just learning those skills and that education to help you have a happy and successful marriage and family. But there's just such a negative stigma to it that it's hard to go around that.
I know, I remember seeing this comic that talked about, I don't know really what it talked about, but it was, from what I understood from it, it was talking about how to get a driver's license, you have to go through all this like training and education, but like for marriage, you don't, like what you're saying, like people just jump in, not really knowing, and so yeah, I think if we can get like that out there, like that stigma away, I think it'll be a lot like more like successful, and I think it'll help people out.
Yeah, that's hard to do. What do you guys have any thoughts? Like, how do you make it so that stigma is not there, or make it sound more fun, or more, not necessarily fun, but more, I don't know, needed?
Well, I know that in before my husband and I got married, he was attending a singles ward, and they had a lot of premarital classes, like instead of Sunday school. I mean, it was more church based or whatever, but it wasn't required, but it was definitely encouraged by the bishop that couples attend this class before they get married. I think it would be nice if that was just more of a public thing, if it, rather than just being church based, if it was, no, you're going to get married and you're going to start a family, you should probably really learn how, or at least get some knowledge and skills. And I don't know if it starts in like our homes now, or like with family and friends, and if we have a younger sister or something, be like, I have this great idea. I think everybody should do it,
Yeah.
But right now, like I said, it seems to be a thing, and even in our ward now, every once a year or so, they do a marriage and family Sunday school,
Cool.
where they take certain lessons each week and talk about. But then again, it's also still gospel based, and some things you would like to have a little bit more separate, where you're like, yes, pay your tithing, but you also need to do something. Figure out how to communicate about money and stuff that might not be in a church context.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think for that stigma too, maybe we would have to start small, like kind of like in our neighborhoods or communities, and then I guess help like in those small ways. Because I was just thinking about because it would be so helpful, like, especially for that like education. Because I think it may help people get married more. Because I wonder if people don't get married too because they think it will fail. They have that expectation. But if they knew that these classes could help them, so they let them know like the truth. Like marriage is, it could be challenging, it could be hard at times, but like here's some skills to help you through it. And like here's you can be successful and happy. I think people, if they see it that way, it's like, oh, we do need this, because like maybe that's one reason why people don't get married is because of that. And so I wonder, if I guess kind of teach and I guess teach people who, I don't know, I think it's hard to reach people who don't think they need help, because they're young, because they're in the honeymoon stage, I guess. Like, we totally love each other, we don't need those classes, and it's just like, yes, you do, but it's hard. It's hard to tell people, it's not, I'm not sure if it is pride or not, but or maybe just not knowing, that there will be problems later. Like, one of my teachers on campus, he always quotes cars, who's it, Luigi, the guy who talks about what wheels he wants. He's like, you don't know what you want, but Luigi knows what you want. And it's kind of how we are at. It's like, oh wait, we can kind of, this thing will help you, because we see those trends and stuff, but sometimes those couples are like, no, everything's fine, which is not good. Maybe it's a culture thing that we don't want to do anything. We're not really preventive. We go to the doctor not to prevent diseases, but we go to the doctor when we're hurt. And so I think maybe it's a little bit of a culture thing, but I don't know. I think maybe we'll start out slow. Maybe our marketing skills will come up or something and say, hey, guys, this is, this is not a bad thing. It's, it's good. Or you can maybe go hey, if you take these classes, you won't have to go to therapy and get worse stigma. That's kind of bad, but but maybe to help them out. I don't know. It's just something to think about. Or maybe make them well known, because I don't think a lot of people, even me, don't know what resources are out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're not really plastered anywhere. The most.
Or if you don't think you don't need it, you're not going to go look for it. And if you don't go look for it, you're not going to know it's there. Yeah.
Actually, I think that's exactly. I wonder if that's the main reason, because the most family or marriage prep or anything I got was actually by going to BYU Idaho and campus stuff because they're totally pro family. They have all these like marriage retreats or like these things that are like all like workshops and then pre-marriage workshops. Like they have so much more, and they have good advertising because you go on their website to go look at your stuff, but they have like those little flyers going through.
Yeah.
And so I wish Google, they should have one. If Google, everyone uses Google. If Google can say, hey, look at this, then yeah, I don't know. It's just something like that where we need to, I guess, reach people or have it, I guess, there so people, I guess, know what it is.
And I think a lot of people, with social media, they just go and read like a blog post and they're like, oh, well, now I can change my entire mentality. And it's like, that blog post just told you what you wanted to hear. And I'm not sure how, that's going to change your life. Some of them are good, don't get me wrong, and some articles are definitely worth reading and applying. It's just, I think a lot of people's mentality, and I think a lot of it's with the instant gratification thing of, I can just go read this little snippet of a blog and improve my life, and a lot of people would rather do that than actually have to like go to a class and invest, their time and effort into changing or into learning. And I think that's kind of a big obstacle. So maybe one of the things we could do is just start a blog.
Yeah, that'd be great. Or a YouTube channels. Like that would be really good. Because people would be willing to like watch something in their pajamas at home than to go sit in a workshop. But at the same time, you don't get that like interaction. But I think that's a great idea. I think that would be really, really good. And then you can, on top of that, you're like, well, there's going to be a conference or something or a class or a workshop. Once a month, and then after they're watching that, they're like, "Oh yeah, I can totally do that." And
one thing.
Yeah, and that way people can't judge you, right? You're at home on your computer, and you don't have to say we went to a marriage and family class.
Right.
Instead, you're just like, I just watched this great thing because I saw it on Facebook. Gives people that anonymity that they want.
Yeah, one thing too, sorry, because I actually been thinking about starting a YouTube channel just purely to help, I guess, share principles for free. Because some people like require like lots of money. But the one thing I'm wondering about, I may have to ask my grandpa because he's in this field, is that like, because there's models and stuff we use, is there copyright stuff? Like that's the only thing I'm worried about. Is like, hey, would we get like, I guess, fined or something? Like, but if we or if we reference it, would we be okay? I guess. I think that's the only thing I could look into. But I think it's a great idea. We should all like have a group of like all of us, a big whole blog thing. We could just put down stuff that we want to teach and people and put in different categories. And if they want to do like some little snippets of how to improve their marriage, we can do like short videos, like 5-minute ones, and then we can do like longer ones from like 10 or 30 minutes. Because we do want shorter ones too. I guess hook them. That's what we'll say. But like a lot of people are more willing to watch like a 5-minute clip. And then after they're interested, they'll watch like the longer ones. Like, hey, this is really beneficial. And then we could even, if we want to, we can even like go and do our workshops and like just record them, like we're teaching a class, and then like put them on like for longer segments or something. I don't know. We could do something if you really want to.
That'd be really cool. Have you guys taken the Child and Family Advocacy class?
Not yet.
That one was like one of my favorite classes. I loved it. But one of the things that she had us do is we got into groups and we had to create a Facebook page, and like we each had our own topics that we had to speak on and stuff. And so we would post things like a TED Talk or a study that we found that pertained to that certain thing. And so like our hashtag was like Save the Children, something like that.
That's cool.
But anyways, that'd be really cool to do that, and then you can post it to your Facebook page. And
that's cool. Yeah.
Maybe once the semester's over and we're all kind of
like surviving. Yeah.
We'll
That's
just
my
send like a
goal.
random.
Like I have my goal all over the place. Like just live until July. Just survive. If I can survive until July, I'm gonna be great.
But I like that idea. No, I think because I know I'm like been thinking about for a while, like at least the YouTube thing idea. But yeah, maybe in a couple months, probably forget everything about each other then. But we'll get some random email from me. You're like, hey, you wanna like add stuff? But yeah.
We're groupies now.
Yeah. I know. we're a team. Because it'll be really cool to do something, especially since there's like more of us, like because each of us see something a little bit differently, and have our own experience and stuff to add. That would really help.
Absolutely. And we each like different things, like you said, like, like mine is on teenagers. Like I could do my workshop about teenagers, and yours is about, helplessness, and Gretchen's is about marriage, right? And Kelly's is about sensory. Like there's so many things that it would open up to so many different people. You'd have such a vast audience, and people that might not watch something about marriage because they wanted to watch something about their teenager, they'd be like, oh, well, it's here. I might as well just watch it. And then they, like that'd be really cool. All those different avenues.
Yeah, we should totally do something. So I'll talk to you guys like after all this is over in like a couple months. Probably in the summer.
Maybe our teacher will just let us do this as our project instead of teaching at McKinsey. We can create.
Oh man, if it would count as an internship, that'd be awesome. But I like everything. I like stuff like double dipping, like, hey, this counts for this and this and this. But too bad you're already doing your internship because you can't just.
Yeah, I'm kind of double dipping a little bit, but.
Well, really have to go. I have like a billion things to do.
Okay.
So do I.
And
Like, I understand.
Okay, well, I hope you guys have a good week, and good luck with your teaching, Kelly, this week.
Yeah, good luck.
Let us know how it goes.
I'm going to like fake it until I get a kind of confidence thing that I have going on. So, thank you. Yes, we will. I'll let you guys know how it goes.
And any tips you can give us would be great.
Yeah.
This is what I learned the hard way. Don't do it this way.
Yeah. Don't give your opinions. Try really, really hard. Make sure you have people that are going to be there. That's my fear. So, yeah, well, I'll let you guys know. Thanks for being a great group. You guys have been great. And
Yeah,
setting up the hangouts every time. That was really awesome. So, thank you.
No worries.
Thank you for sure, because I don't know how to get a clean up group up at all. So, glad you know technology.
No worries. Okay, well, good luck, you guys.
Good luck, ladies. We'll see you guys later.